Andrew Wallace is the Shadow Attorney-General and hasn't quite taken off for Canberra yet, joining us from his electorate in Queensland. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Patricia. I'm actually at the airport, ready to go.
All right, you're ready to go. This is good. You're setting the sort of sense of drama for us. Do you back Susan Lee's leadership no matter what happens tomorrow?
Absolutely, Patricia. I think Susan is doing a very good job under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. After coming off 2 election defeats, I think that it's the toughest job in Australian politics right now, and I think that she is cool and calm under pressure. I think she's doing a very good job.
Cool and calm under pressure, but it seems like, I mean, even Angus Taylor, who's clearly one of her rivals, given he put his hand up for the job when she was victorious, says he's not focused on this. I mean, that's a very interesting form of words. How did you read it?
Well, look, to be perfectly honest with you, PK, I think Angus has been an exemplar in a vanquished person for the leadership. You know, Angus has not tried to destabilise Susan in any way, shape or form. You know, it's human nature for someone to be disappointed as a result of not having won the support of your colleagues. But Angus, you know, he picked up his tools straight after that leadership challenge that he lost, and got stuck straight into work in the defence portfolio. I think he's been outstanding in that portfolio, and I really do think he's been an exemplar as a potential leader.
So, is he still a potential leader?
Well, what I mean by that is that when he lost the leadership,
I get it, but do you still see him?
Toys out of the cot.
Yeah, of course. Like people do that. Do you still see him as a potential leader, though?
Well, that's a question for Angus. But
well, not really. Like, do you think he'd be a good leader?
Well, at that level, Patricia, at that level, when you are a shadow cabinet minister, you are all leaders. But Angus has not done one thing that I have seen, either privately or publicly, that would confirm to me that he's trying to destabilise Susan Lee, and I think that's to his credit.
Okay. How about the other contender, Andrew Hastie?
Well, Andrew's
if we can
gone
use
to the backbench.
The cot analogy, is that like toys being thrown out?
The cot analogy. Well, look, Andrew was unhappy with the way that the arrangement with the charter leaders went. He was unhappy that he wasn't going to be involved with or responsible for immigration as the senior portfolio holder. And he made a decision which I'm thankful for, because I wouldn't be in the shadow cabinet if he hadn't have gone to the backbench. That's the reality of it for me. But Andrew made his decision, and for all intents and purposes, he seems to be pretty comfortable with it.
Okay. Are you comfortable with it, though? Is he still a leadership contender?
Look, Andrew and I have spoken on a number of occasions. Andrew made it very clear at the last after the last election. He said that the timing wasn't right for him. He has a young family. He wants to be able to spend time with his young kids, and that's a pretty hard argument to run against. I mean, he is a dedicated father, probably a lot more dedicated than I've ever been, to his credit, and he's putting his family first, and good on him.
Look, the moderates have been out this week laying down the gauntlet on retaining the words net zero. Just your position, should the words net zero be kept?
Well, look, PK, we'll go through all of this. We'll go over the entrails of all of this tomorrow. I'm a member of the Shadow Executive.
I get it, but you obviously, as a Queenslander, you've got you're getting the vibes of your own electorate. Give me a sense. I mean, Melissa McIntosh has been up front. She's done a survey. She says her community says get rid of net zero. What do you think?
Well, I can tell you I've done a survey as well, and the results are still not finalised yet, but the survey's still being done. but the results so far are emphatically in favour of getting out of net zero.
Oh, okay.
Net zero.
Well, you've given me a little scoop there, so I appreciate that. So you're saying so far your survey is saying get out of net zero?
That's what the survey is saying.
How overwhelmingly, can you give me a sense of how many people we're talking? Like, I know that you're not finished, but what? I just think people would think, no. What's the sample? What is it saying?
Well, we've sent out 23,500 emails across my electorate. We've had about a 2.5% response, which isn't too bad as far as these things go, and it's been emphatically. This is in my electorate, so I just want to absolutely clarify that. That it's been emphatically that we should dump net zero. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to support that. Ultimately, it's a matter for discussion, particularly amongst the shadow executive. But that's been the position of the good people of Fisher.
Okay, so that's yeah, I get that. So you say it's not necessarily what you're going to say, but you don't think you should be reflecting that view tomorrow in the party room?
I didn't say I wasn't going to do that, PK. At the end of the day,
you can just tell me what you're going to do.
In the party room. Look, I'd love to give you that scoop, Patricia, but what happens in the party room for me is sacrosanct. I'll be talking along with my colleagues, and I'll be putting the views of many of my constituents forward, and ultimately I am very confident, Patricia, that we will land on a position that not everybody will be happy with, but I'm hopeful that we'll get to a point that everybody can live with the outcome. Okay,
so in terms of living with the outcome, do you accept that view, maybe in your electorate that works, the view that you get rid of net zero by 2050, which is kind of, so symbolic of a commitment to doing something about climate change, would be dangerous in metropolitan areas?
Well, I'm not going to predetermine or guess what the outcome will be, but I think in terms of the electoral politics, the challenge of it's the challenge of modern day politics, Patricia. I mean, people who live in Queensland, they think very differently to people who live in Victoria, for example, and that therein lies the challenge. So, look, as I said, I'm confident that we'll get there in the end, and that it will be an outcome that we can all live with. Okay, and do you think the way this debate has been conducted has set a precedent that people can contradict and undermine Susan Lee over issues if they feel a sort of imperative? Well, Patricia, I don't think that I think we've moved on from the period of absolute unity to the point where no one is able to challenge the views of a colleague. Remembering that the leader of the party is the first among equals. I don't want to see a situation where we have an authoritarian rule in the Liberal Party or the National Party for that matter. So I think it's important. And look, when Susan pitched for the leadership, she said that she was going to be consultative. That's exactly what she's done. She's been certainly the most consultative leader that I have worked under in my nearly 10 years in this place. That's interesting you use the word authoritarian, because I've heard that word before, and I wrote it actually in a piece because it was a word that was used about Peter Dutton's approach. Is that how you found it? Well, Pete was a strong leader, and we all respected Peter for his strength of leadership. And it's a different kind of leadership to Susan, that's for sure. But was it authoritarian in its nature? Well, it's probably a bit of a strong language, isn't it? Authoritarian. What word did you use? And his predecessors, exceptionally strong leadership. But what we, I think, don't want to see is a situation where the backbench and the shadow executive are just willing to toe the line. And I think what we saw at the last election, if we're going to learn from any of the outcome, is that we've got to be a lot more on the front foot and be prepared to challenge the policies that are being put forward. And I think that that's really important. So that is kind of a pivotal meeting tomorrow.
What happens next in terms of the Nationals? If the party does retain net zero, do you think you can have a different view to the Nationals and continue to be like a coalition?
Well, clearly, my preference would be that we're able to get some degree of uniformity with our approach. There'll be more meetings. There's a meeting of the Shadow Executive on Thursday, and then we've got another meeting on Sunday. So there's a lot to thrash out. Look, going back to your earlier question, PK, about this concept of being, having different voices and challenging the leader, etc. The Liberal Party prides itself on not being a group of lemmings that just follow the leader off the cliff. It's important that we are able to speak up and speak our mind. In fact, it's one of the privileges of being in the Liberal Party, as opposed to the Labor Party. If you break with the policies of the Labor Party, well, you're out the door, you're disendorsed, and see you later, don't come Monday. But that's not how we operate, and I know that creates a tension, because for the media that means that there's a lot more to talk about. There's a sort of an image of disunity, but what that process, that policy enables us to do is be able to speak our mind, and that's been a platform of the Liberals and the Nationals for, as far as I'm aware, since the parties were conceived, and I don't want to see that change. There is strength in being able to state your mind privately and publicly. Okay. If you disagree, if you're on the backbench, if you disagree with the policy, you're entitled to do that.
Just finally, this afternoon we are hearing Nauru's president has made a secretive visit to federal parliament less than a fortnight after the first members of the so-called NZYQ cohort were quietly sent to the Pacific Island. Is it acceptable this has not been publicly shared, announced? Should there be transparency?
Absolutely, Patricia. There must be transparency, and transparency is something that this government is totally devoid of. We've seen that with the Freedom of Information laws that passed through the House last week, and in many other instances where Tony Burke in particular and this government are very, very keen to try and run from scrutiny and hide in the shadows. This is a $2.5 billion deal, we think, because it hasn't been disclosed. It's an approximately $2.5 billion deal involving just 280 NZYQ detainees. The fact that the Nauruan president is here in Australia without either country, either government providing any information as to what the basis of the meeting is, should be a cause of great concern for Australians, because it's once again this government signalling that transparency is not important to it.
Just finally, John Howard has urged Anthony Albanese and Susan Lee, your current leader, to talk to each other about introducing 4-year federal parliamentary terms. Do you think that would be wise? People might want a referendum on 4-year parliamentary terms?
Look, 4 years is 4 years terms for the House of Representatives sounds good. It's already been to a referendum which was rejected. Doesn't necessarily mean it can't be run again, but it does create other problems. For instance, with the Senate, does that mean that the Senate terms are changed to 8 years? Well, that's a very long term for anybody. So it's not straightforward. Do I personally support 4-year terms for members of the House of Representatives, for a government? Look, I think it's something that it would be wise to look at, because at the end of the day, the average term of a government, I think since the Second World War, has been 2.5 years. And that's just crazy. It's nonsense. Local government and all local governments and all state governments are now 4-year terms, and yet we're stuck in this world where, constitutionally it's 3 years, but the reality is we're going to the polls every 2.5 years. I think Australians have had a gutful of that sort of regular a number of elections, and I think better government would come from 4 years, but it's not without its problems. I accept that.
Thank you so much.
Authorised by Andrew Wallace, LNP, Boccarina, Queensland.